All right, it is Monday, October 7th, I believe. I'm in Annapolis at, what's the name of this place?
City Dock Coffee Shop.
City Dock Coffee Shop, and I'm here with a new friend, Mr. Andy Schell.
Greetings.
Andy is the founder of Two Inspired Guys, along with his friend
Ryan Briggs. Sort of on hiatus at the moment,
right?
but he might
He's
be back.
married, doing that crazy stuff, children probably. So Andy agreed to meet with me to kind of review the big boat plan. He's not aware of my sailing dinghy and the small boat build, but he is aware of the big boat build. So I reached out to him to find some resources to help me finish some of the design analysis in terms of hiring, naval architects and designers to kind of verify what I've done before I actually start building this big boat. And he's been a great help. I'm very, very grateful for that. Thank you. But he also agreed to meet with me to kind of give me his input as a seasoned offshore sailor. So I'm going to now introduce you guys to Andy Schell. Is that proper on there? Can you see yourself?
Yeah, it's good, yeah.
All right, so Andy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so again, Andy Schell. I've been sailing my whole life. Grew up on the Chesapeake here with my dad. Pictures of me sailing in diapers. Got into offshore sailing in 2007, I think. Did a trip from Charleston to Tortola, first offshore trip. Traveled to New Zealand, met a beautiful Swedish woman, and who's now my wife. We sailed our yawl Arcturus across the Atlantic in 2011 went Annapolis, Newport, Nova Scotia, St. Pierre, Ireland, Scotland, across the North Sea to Sweden. So the majority of that trip, the big crossing, was 23 days. So that's pretty cool. I've got now about 40,000 offshore miles doing deliveries and this sort of stuff. Do the website 59-north.com. It's sort of the home on the web for ocean sailing. I'm trying to make it that anyway. And the Two Inspired Guys podcast is sort of retired at the moment. And the new one, the sailing one I do that you've been listening to, I think, is just called the 59 North podcast.
Okay.
Both those you can find on 59-north.com.
So Andy's being modest. He's more than a sailor. He is I'm going to call him a journalist. He's a mountain climber.
Well,
I guess a cyclist and a marathon.
I ran my first ultra marathon yesterday. 31 miles I ran yesterday in 5 hours and 40-some minutes.
And he agreed to meet with me today, so that's definitely good.
Notice we're sitting down.
Right. So tell us, what made you get into this offshore business?
I read about it. I grew up reading Moitessier's the go-to book. The Long Way is like the book that I tell people, if you're interested in it, you will want to do it. Grew up reading this stuff, and I love to travel. So for me, it was always a means of seeing the world. But it's more than just that. It's actually being out there. There's a spiritual element to it. A communion with nature. I don't want to sound too hippie, but when you're out there,
I'm a hippie. Please. You
get out. You deconnect from the mainland, and it takes a few days to do that. And that's why I tell people, you haven't done an offshore passage unless you've been out there for at least a week, because shorter than that, it's not enough time to detach yourself from this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, there's something really cool about it when you're out there. I'll tell a story from crossing the Atlantic. We were 1,000 miles offshore, closer to Greenland than anywhere else, still 600 miles south of Greenland. I was on watch by myself. It was a beautiful, you say this, people don't believe you, but when you're offshore, you have stars literally down to the horizon, because there's no light pollution.
Right.
So you get stars down the horizon. We had one of these crystal clear nights. Wind was behind us. This was on my boat. We had the small jib pulled out one side, the mainsail double reef pulled out the other side. The boat would lift up on a wave, and you just feel the momentum. And all of a sudden, you just go and surf down the front of these waves. 12 and a half knots is our speed record on our little boat.
Wow. On what boat? Arcturus?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Just cruising down these waves. Anyway, I was clipped in, walked up forward. Moon was shining as well. And I just stood on the spinnaker pole. Just stood up there as the boat's steering itself. And you're in the moment. Like, you don't get more in the moment than moments like that. And that's the nights you can't describe. You can try to describe it, but you can't experience it until you do it. And it's amazing. I mean, it's like standing on top of a mountain, or yesterday in my long run, after you get past a certain point, your brain sort of detaches itself from your body somehow, and you just get those meditative moments that's what you do it for.
You know, surprisingly, I get that when I'm sanding.
When you're what?
Sanding.
Yeah,
Seriously,
any of that stuff.
It's
Yeah,
it's a
I
zen
can
it's
see
a
that.
zen space
Exactly.
almost. Yeah.
It's you're not conscious of yourself at that
Yeah.
point.
It's like how can I use whatever I'm doing to achieve this thing?
Yeah.
And you're just in that experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So there's a big difference between enjoying offshore cruising and deciding to do it as a profession. So how did you decide to say, oh well, forget 9 to 5. This is where I'm going to earn my living.
Well, it's interesting you ask that because I wouldn't want to do the offshore sailing all the time either. There's delivery captains that do this stuff. They go one trip, they fly back, they do another trip, and they do that. I need a balance.
Right.
I like to run. I like to cycle. I just bought a house. I like being home. I like the periods of change, I guess. So what I've basically done, and I'm unemployable. Let's just say that I've been spoiled to the point where
Right.
I've had enough projects that have been successful, modestly successful enough that I can live the lifestyle, the very simple lifestyle that I want to live, without having to have one full-time job. So I have 6 part-time jobs, and I'm a little bit of an entrepreneur and trying to do a few things here and there. But anyway, the point is, I wouldn't be happy doing one thing if it was one thing. If it was sailing all the time, I wouldn't be happy doing that.
Okay.
So I need the variety to keep myself interested, I guess.
Right. And that's something I guess I didn't share with Andy. I have, I am in engineering and design, but I've also been a business owner for the majority of my life. I can't work for other people for too long. It's something, for me, it's valuing your time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why do I have to be in a space from a certain time point just because I'm supposed to be there when there's nothing to do? You know, let's go do something else and be more efficient.
Exactly.
And productive with your time. So I guess that's something that we have in common. Well, let's talk a little bit about the boat here.
Sure.